Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all some different things that I'm doing today with some of the laser cut wood pieces that we've been sending out in our craft along kits. Now we do make these in-house on our Glowforge laser cutter, and they're made out of a maple like plywood. And then we also make some out of like poplar and balsa wood and like birch and different things like that. So we do also, if you're not part of our craft along club, we do sell some of these on our website as well. Now this design is from the Glowforge like library that we have a commercial license for that design, but then we also are going to be using some here, which is one of our moon designs that we had put together. That's a little bit of a stack. I wanted to be very efficient with the amount of or rather with the wood that we were using. So I cut off, you can see here, some different pieces, and we have some little like circle cutouts and things that I think are great for earrings and all sorts of different stuff. But what I'm making today is, I don't know yet. I have this like idea. I'd really like to put some, like maybe have a hangy downy thing for like the rear view mirror in a car. In our car, actually, because we have a big road trip coming up, and I thought it'd be nice to have something pretty that hangs as well as smells good, because we have a little car, and y'all, so help us, if we eat Taco Bell, we are doomed. So we thought it'd be nice to have something to make it smell a little better in our car. It smells wonderfully, and my favorite thing about these wood cutout pieces is, aside from, well, I mean, you can't smell it. Sorry, I'm here like sniffing it, like, smell that? No, you can't, because you're not here. Um, courtesy of lack of smell-o-vision. They have a really nice kind of burnt wood smell to them. If you don't like that, buying something that's made out of literally burnt wood might not be for you, but you can cut down on it a little bit by like sanding it, going through with like an emery board or a bit of sandpaper or something, and going through and kind of sanding off some of the burnt wood will make it smell a little less like burnt wood, but that's difficult to do on designs like this. But you could also, if you don't want to use it as an oil diffuser, you could dip the whole thing in Mod Podge or cast resin into it. That way it would look a little bit like a stained glass window or something, maybe. But that's just an idea of something that you could do if you like. I really like the moons, but I don't know if that's going to be too big. Like, this feather certainly is going to be too big. I've accumulated, I went a rummaging through the drawers and found a whole bunch of, like, here I have a labradorite that we did have up for sale on our website, but it had chipped. And it's such a pretty stone. But I didn't want to, I decided if it was broken, I was going to keep it. And it's so beautiful from both sides as well. But I was thinking about fractal wrapping that onto there, and maybe wire wrapping these guys onto the sides. And then, I don't know, I might still have a big old honking feather. I've had this feather was sent to me, oh, I can't remember her name, but she went by Flower, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago. And I've been hoarding it. I hoard things. I don't know if y'all have noticed. Then I also have a bunch of these Jangle bells, and which, honest, I'm not going to put those on there because as much as I love them, that's going to make Randy, he's very sensitive to high-pitched noises, and those are pretty high-pitched. I've got a little bunch of dog hair. These 2 crystals were from when we went crystal mining with our niece Maddie in Mount Ida, Arkansas. And I've been hoarding them as well, so that might be kind of pretty to incorporate. Now, I pulled these guys out not because I'm going to use them, but even though I really wanted to. They're a beautiful top drilled, so it's drilled side to side, rainbow fluorite point. Now, I don't recommend using rainbow fluorite for like sun catchers and different things like that, because even though they are so beautiful, I want to show you guys over here a little past my mess. You can see this tree here I'd actually made with rainbow fluorite, and it used to be so vibrantly purple, and like a lot of the chips that are still a little purple were like this color of purple, just super, kind of deep and bold, and it has since faded because, you know, I've been having it in this window and it doesn't even really get direct sunlight here. So that's something that you'll want to keep in mind for with whatever you're using, that it is if it's going to be in a position where it's getting direct sunlight, like hanging from the rear view window of a car, might not be the best idea to have sensitive crystals there. But I would like a whole bunch of little rainbows, and this guy here sends some little rainbows, and these guys here send some little rainbows. So I might not have, I mean, I love that feather. I don't know how big I'm gonna end up making this, truly. I've got like a little leaf and an owl and some opalite points, which is a man-made glass, but it's such a beautiful, like, I love it, especially when the light hits through it. Like, it's one of my favorite things. So I'm gonna set this off to the side. Oh, and then also I have like a busted necklace in here that has some beautiful nuggets of amethyst that I think are just super pretty, and they are top drilled. So I was thinking about trying to maybe, you know, hang some of those. We could do a little bit of chainmail hanging off of this, have it be like a hybrid piece where we can make, oh, I think that's what we're gonna do, you guys. Okay, we're gonna make some little like hangy downy bits, technical terminology, because we could have, yeah, I think I'm gonna like this. It's likely going to end up being too big for like a what are they called, the thingies hanging down from your windshield, like a windshield ornament, like a mirror ornament, I don't know. It's likely going to end up being too big for that, but I think it'll be so pretty, and I kind of want to hang that maybe from there. I don't know. I wanted to do a tutorial that just demonstrated some of the different things that can be done with the sorry, I'm thinking, and all three of my brain cells, I borrowed one from Randy, so I'm up from 2, but all 3 of my brain cells are just running around in circles trying to get everything sorted. I don't even remember what I was going to say now. I wanted to demonstrate ways that you could use the different woodcut pieces that come in our craft-along kits, because we've made, you know, we've taken the little moon pieces like this and filled it in with resin or wire wrapped in different beads. You can actually come through and put beads into these cutouts. You could hang it just as it is. You could, you know, 2 of these, I think that would make super cute little matching earrings. You could put a ring through here to attach it to the ear hook, and then hang a little drop or something from there. Like, let's say one of these little marquee cut. Like, wouldn't that be cute? We'll do a tutorial on that, I think. But for now, we're going to be rummaging about, making a mess, and having a good time. Oop. One of my crystals got stuck. So I think I'd like it to be kind of balanced in some ways and a little chaotic in others. So we might wrap, like, these 2 crystals don't even match, but I'm not worried about it. This is my piece of art. If it's not your favorite, you should do your piece of art and make that one be your favorite. So there we have that. We could wrap that one and hang it. Though, I don't know. I don't know if we will, yeah, I might have to make a couple of them as well. I don't know if I'll be able to fully incorporate the amethyst into this as well. So I kind of like that, and I don't know if I'll be able to include, yeah, we'll do a couple different renditions of this, I do think. So just keeping it a little streamlined, because we can always add on more, but sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I can get overwhelmed with trying to do too much into a project. That is so much so that I won't even start. So I'm going to keep it simple. We can always add stuff later. I do kind of want to do a connector like right there. What should we use to connect that? I bet I've got a pretty bead somewhere. Maybe this blue one that I had touched. That's too small. I want like a beefy bead. I don't know, we'll figure that out when we get there. We may just do that. So please pardon my sniffles. I have a little bit of a runny nose. 'Tis the season for allergies, I do believe. So I'm gonna come through, and also something else to keep in mind is while Parawire has super durable, very high quality enameled wire, sometimes you should choose your battles. I have experienced some yellowing with years of direct constant exposure to UV light. I have experienced yellowing with their silvers. So knowing that to be the case, I'm going to use the titanium toned because it's a little less noticeable, but also a little less likely. And also, if you want 100% chance of no yellowing, we could just use aluminum wire. So let me rummage. Here we go. So right here I have this is some 20 gauge of aluminum wire, aluminum craft wire from Parawire. And this stuff, y'all, is like dead soft. So I don't know if I'd recommend it for traditional jewelry applications, let's see. Oh gosh, I have made such a mess already. So normally with 20 gauge wire, if this were a copper core, I wouldn't think twice about just doing a right angle bend and then coming in with my round nose pliers and making a loop like that. With this wire, this is so soft, like I can hook it on my fingernail and just pull it completely open, no trouble at all. So what I would recommend alternatively would be know the material that you're working with. Also, I just want to demonstrate too how super easy this stuff is to mishandle. So, and it's not a reflection of the product quality, it's just the nature of dead soft aluminum wire. But if you come in and squeeze it, you can actually almost cut this with your pliers. So definitely be mindful of that, and you'll want to maybe practice a little bit on a practice piece before tackling like your final project. So I'm going to come in about 2 inches and do a right angle bend. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to do 1 rotation around, being very careful to not over grip with my pliers, and a 2nd rotation around, again knowing it's a softer metal, just double up on it, and then I'm going to do a wrapped loop. So if this is the head and this is the rest of the wire is the body, I'm wrapping the scarf around the neck quite securely. A little too securely. I would not want to wear a scarf that tight. And then we're going to come in and snip off that tail end. And so now we have a much more secure, so, you know, if you have a material that you're like, this isn't perfect for what I'm doing, instead of taking that as oh, well, I can't craft that, it's, try maybe approaching it from the perspective of, well, I don't have the stuff that's perfect for it. How could I craft it anyways? So it's not an immovable, obstacle. It's just something to be worked around. So we've got that loop right there like that. I'm gonna give myself about 5 more inches of wire. Again, this stuff is so affordable. You can, you can give yourself some extra. You don't have to be stingy with it. You always want to make sure that the wire you're using will comfortably fit through your beads. There we go, because I was like, maybe it won't comfortably fit through. Now you can see on this side, oh, it's having some trouble getting through. Let's see if we can force it anyhow. If this were, there we go. If this were a stiffer wire, I'd be pretty stressed about, forcing it through a little faceted marquee glass bead like this, because glass can have a tendency to flake off if you apply pressure to it. So I want the distance between these coils here and where the wire enters the bead to be equidistant as from right here to the tip of the bead, with maybe a little bit extra. That wouldn't hurt. So I'm just gonna wiggle this out, and then I'm going to, nope, you can see that is not long enough. What I'm trying to do here is, let's wiggle it out a little bit farther. There we go. Give ourselves a nice little bend there. Is I want this loop to be centered up at the top of our marquee there. I could have given myself a little bit more space, but I think I can make this work. I'm making this project for me, so I'm doing whatever makes me happy. So, and I encourage you as an artisan making your own stuff to do what makes you happy. So again, it doesn't bother me a bit that it's a little bit chaos and a little off center. So now we're just going to wrap this down the rest of the way until our wire is used up. And again, since I'm not going to be wearing this, I'm not nearly so worried about spirals getting tangled or anything like that. I'm going to grab my petite nose, round nose pliers. And I've shown this in other videos, but I try to treat my videos like it's, like each one's a complete standalone. So if you've watched my other videos and stuff, some of this is probably going to be repeated information, repeated techniques and stuff, but I dare not presume. So these are my regular round nose pliers that I use for basically 20 gauge and thicker, and thinner stuff too, but if I can, I'll get away with using these guys, which have a much more petite tip, and I like using those for 20 gauge and thinner. And it gets us a really nice petite loop at the beginning of our wire. Boop, whoops, careful because it will cut through that wire. You have to, practice will get you where you're going. You'll figure it out. And I'm just going to come in and make a little loop-de-loop just there on the tip. And so that will be what hangs down from that one. And then let's do a different style of wrap over here on the, I'm so sorry about my autofocus, you guys. It has been the bane of my existence for a while now. So for this faceted bead, I'm going to first make sure that my wire actually fits through it. Oh, it does perfectly. And I'm going to pull off about 12 inches of wire. And then I'm going to bring this through to about the middle of our stone. And you can see I've bent it up. Hopefully you can see it's a little blurry. So that those wires are crossed like so. I'm going to do 1, 2 twists to stabilize that. And then I'm gonna, it's a little bit of a third twist, but it's mostly just trying to get both of the wires to move up straight from where they were positioned. And I'm going to bring both of these wires around our round nose pliers, making a little bit of a bend because I want the loop, again, to sit comfortably along that center line. Now this stuff's soft enough I can just grip it with my fingers, but use your pliers if that's better for you. And I'm just wrapping down. And then I'm going to do, let's do one more rotation. And I'm taking this top wire and I'm going to do, I call it our Itsy Bitsy spiral. It's where if you put your fingers together and do this motion. And I do recommend practicing that without wire before you pick up your piece. And you place where you want your spiral to be in between your two fingers. I like to start with my left hand on top, but with practice you'll figure out what you prefer. So I have it placed, I'm holding on to our bead and holding on to our wire, and then I'm just going to turn. And look at that perfect little spiral! Ah, I love it. Oh, crafting makes me so happy, you guys, and I'm so glad to get to share it with you. So thank you guys for being here today. Like, look at that happy little spiral. And I'm just going to continue that around. This aluminum wire is so easy and soft to work with. Like, it is so, like, I mean, wire wrapping is always going to be a little taxing on your fingertips and stuff, but this stuff is the least, the least taxing that I found. So we could have this spiral come up this way. I'm going to have it go downwards just because that's what I feel like doing. Cannot emphasize enough to y'all how much that is a part of why I'm doing anything with wire wrapping. It's like, why'd you do that? I felt like it. But we could have also have just snipped it and had it be flush. But I also think I'm going to smush that over, make it more centered. I'm going to snip, boop, to where you have about 1 inch of length. Gripping like that. And I know having a cleaner background would hopefully help the autofocus. I ain't about that life. So that is how that has come out, and I really like that. So now we have those positioned. I'm going to wrap this faceted crystal in a very similar method. I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Now this one, I'm just going to do like 6 inches. And then I'm going to thread onto our crystal. And I'm going to use this end to just start making a little spiral. Because if you wanted all of your crystals to match, then I would have recommended just doing them all the same way. But I like having them all be a little different. It certainly makes it very fun and interesting to make. Every single thing is different. But the core technique remains the same. You're going through where the bead is strung, you're stabilizing your wire. There we go. There will be a full link or a full list of links down in the video description of the tools and materials that I'm using. I didn't really list it off at the beginning of the video, one, because I forgot. I was just excited about crafting, and two, I wasn't entirely certain what all we would end up using. So as comprehensive of a list as I can make will be down in the video description. And some of those will be affiliate links, which at no additional charge to you. Purchasing through those links will benefit our company. A small percentage goes towards Back to Earth Creations, so we always appreciate that. But also they're mostly intended as a, kind of get you started shopping. Sometimes it can be difficult to know what to get. And I've just wrapped around the neck a little bit. I'm experimenting with wrapping around there. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to try to tuck the end of this wire into that space. There's kind of a little bit of space right there, and I want to see if I can smush that in. Again, if this were a piece of jewelry, I would not be trying this. I'd want it to be nice and stable and secure, but this is not, should not be at risk of getting tangled in my hair. It doesn't seem to be working. Okay, so I'm just going to snip, as cute as it is, I am going to just snip that off. Remove that bit of wire. Well, I guess it was holding on better than I thought it was. And then, oops, just smushing in. So there's that. And now doing, lost the wire, there it is. Doing our last crystal. I'm actually going to do this one different again. Snipped about 10 inches of wire. I'm going to thread into the center of the stone. And you could use a knitting needle or a pen or some mandrel pliers. I'm just going to keep using my round nose pliers because that's what I have here. And I'm going to come through and wrap twice around our round nose pliers. I'm actually going to scooch the crystal out of the way a bit. And I'm not going to wrap it down to the base of the stone just yet. So now also you can see I kind of stacked the spirals. If we follow it around, I'm going to repeat that same direction on the other side. I just find that it helps the crystal to sit more centered a little bit on the final piece, but other than that, it's really just a design preference. Okay, so now from here we can curl that in a little bit so that it's sitting nice and snug against our crystal. And from here, I'm going to wrap once around that way. Yeah, I'm going to have this wire bend off in that direction as well. And we're just going to wrap like that. And I don't want to cover up too much of the stone. So now I've decided this will be the back side. I've come up and around. And I'm just going to bind off around the loops like that. And like that. And now from here, we could snip flush, we could do spirals. I'm going to choose to snip flush. Just snip. And snip. Bringing this around and swoosh. There we go. Not too much. This stuff is real sensitive to being smushed too hard. There we go. But I kind of want those in line with each other because now we can join a jump ring through each loop on either side, and it'll just hang a little differently. So I'm going to go rummage real quick. No, wait, before we go rummage, I wanted to finish up the wire wrapping because I haven't dug out what jump rings I'm going to be using for this yet. So here in the center, we do have an option that we could just not do anything there in the center, but I really wanted to put this labradorite there. I think it's going to be really pretty. And I'm pulling off an entire arm span, so about 5 feet of wire. Still using the 20 gauge. Whoops, super adorable. And we're going to follow along roughly with my fractal wrap tutorial that I'd posted, it feels like a lifetime ago. And we can choose here whether we want to go through these little holes or these little holes. Whichever one you pick, I'd recommend just being consistent. I think I'm going to do the longer of the holes. And I know I'm out of frame, but I'm just finding the end of my wire, and I'm going to come through on this one here. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th opening, I'm going to thread through. We could do the 5th, and we may end up doing that. Oh, I'm tangled around my tripod. Oh boy. Okay, and then we're just going to pull this wire down. I'm gripping on the back, just holding with my finger. We could tape this, but again, I'm not about that life. And then coming around, and I'm going to go through the next. We could skip. Let's actually skip and see what happens. So that's going to give us a really short loop on the back. And that's okay. It's just something to be mindful of, that it doesn't kink. so I know I'm out of frame. So we've skipped one there, so we're going to skip one here and thread through right there. Whoops. Normally this is something that I would do in like, I hope that didn't break. Ah, super Jangle! Excellent, still in one piece. Just a little covered in dog hair. Oh wait, I don't know, maybe I thought I'd chipped it. Ah, well, it's for me anyhow. Yeah, tape or a bit of glue or literally anything would have been a good idea. Whoopsie. So we'll skip one. We're going to go through here. Holding the stone in. Bending that wire around. Because I really like the geometry of it in these fractal wraps. Okay, so we thread through there. And what did we do? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Pulling through. And normally I would have never tried this with a 20 gauge copper core because it would have been so work hardened by now. But the aluminum is still doing pretty good. Just pull them through. Like that. There it goes again. Now we'll get the next loop will hold everything kind of in place. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll thread through there. There we go. And so I'm starting by skipping every other just to get the stone stabilized, and then we may snagged on the desk, snagged on the pliers. We may decide to go through and add in another layer. So we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right back through there. And again, you don't want any little kinks or anything forming. So if you're just mindful of what your wire's doing, and the more you practice, the more you'll kind of be able to tell that your wire's fixing to act up before it actually acts up. But back through here. Usually if it's in a nice smooth loop, it'll stay in a nice smooth loop until you look away. Okay, so we have one more to do before we've completed the rotations for this design. And I do think that's beautiful, but I'd like a little bit more wire work going on around our stone. So I'm going to start a second layer where I just go in and do the kind of the petals of the mandala that I hadn't gone through prior. But still sticking with the 1, 2, 3, threading through on the 4th. And this will even get you a slightly different effect than if you just went through without skipping one right from the beginning. And it's all about personal preference and experimenting and seeing what you're digging. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could also go through with a second color of wire and get some contrast and stuff going. That'd be pretty cool. And I'm doing this in real time because I wanted to give you guys not just a realistic idea of how much time this is taking, but you never know what might come up. What kind of tricky disasters we might have to, gosh, that is such a pretty stone. What kind of tricky disasters we might have to try to overcome. Or might have the fortune of getting to work around. Embrace the disaster. 1, 2, 3. And I really like how that's coming around. And also, I like not using glues because you can still get in here and turn the stone so that however you decide for it to, it might be prettiest from one angle. And it's just, I like having options, getting to be fiddly with it. Ooh wee, which one did I just do? Which way was I working from? Okay. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Because this one does not have 2 wires in it. If you can see that. It can get a little tricky and you can lose your place, but that's okay. You'll figure it out. Again, this one doesn't have 2 wires in it, so I'm going to thread through. One, two, three, and boop. And I think that brings us to full circle. And so from here, I am going to wrap around. I'm going to put a little bit of a hook in our wire so that we can hook it through. And then with the aid of our bent nose pliers, grip and pull through. And we can now stabilize this end wire. And I'm going to give it a snip. So 5 feet was actually significantly more than what we needed, but I would always rather have more on a project like this because it gives us room to be able to change our mind and experiment. As opposed to being very systematically, no, we only get this much wire for this project. And so I'm just spiraling in and smushing. You can actually get another little, just tucking that through. When stabilizing your wires, use your own discretion. If you feel like it's good enough and it's holding up, then it's good enough. So somebody else's standards of how something should be wrapped. I always listen to input and, try to understand why other people are doing what they're doing, when constructing something like this. But more than anything, y'all, it's your art. Do your art the way that you feel compelled to do it. Okay, so now we can't push the stone through from the back, but I do want this to be very stable. So I'm just going to take my pliers and I'm going to line up with the center line of that lobe of the mandala, and I'm going to bring that wire in. Again, I'm going to come around to this side and bring that wire in. Come around to this side and bring that wire in. Coming around and bringing that wire in by being very careful to make sure that I'm lining up with that center point and applying pressure in the same way each time. It's going to give us a pretty cool, hopefully, effect. And I'm going to have to dig for this one because it's a little buried under the other wires, but that's okay. If you don't have pliers that fit in there, you could also use like a T-pin or a safety needle, like a safety pin. Just be mindful, we are tender meat. So I'm going to grab right there and I'm going to bend that in. And so it's not perfect, it actually got a little better there at the end, but I'll take it. You can also maybe smush it. Let's see what we can what we can accomplish by smushing a bit. And then we could also come in and do a little bend like that on each time. Just gives it a little bit more of like a wave. And don't worry, if you hate it, you can scrap it and try again. That's okay too. So much in crafting and in many things that I see folks do, the fear of failure, the fear of messing up causes way more failure than actually just doing the thing. So don't let fear hold you back from, you know, the risk of having a good time with crafting. So again, it's not perfectly centered, but with the power of smoosh, we can make things incrementally worse. No, I think this is all right. I'm pretty happy with that, and I absolutely love the labradorite, so that works. So now to try to attach these two side moons, gosh, this would make a bougie necklace. Yeah, I'm just gonna say this would be so cute. Giant, but very fun. So I'm going to snip off about 12 inches twice, because that's what I'm going to be giving myself on each side to attach our moons. And I'm kind of thinking about, I have these pretty blue beads. No, you know, I actually think I have. I'm rummaging. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, so these are left over from a previous project that I had done, but I have some like little faceted opalite. Yes! Okay, so I'm going to use some faceted opalite. These are 6mm. I thought I had some, harumph. I thought I had some like 8mm beads. And I probably do. Maybe no, that's sandpaper. No, I just looked at that one. Okay, well, I don't know what I did to them. Oh, they're they're directly to the left of me. And there's some really pretty. Oh goodness. Because we could do little opalite, or we could do. These guys are really pretty. I think I'm going to do those. They're like an Aurora Borealis finished glass. We may be able to use those opalite beads somewhere else in the project. But yeah, and they're a little translucent, so there's a little bit of that teal action going on, and I've really been feeling teal lately. So I'm going to press this into that open spot, and then I'm going to wrap around just once. And you don't want to tug too hard because metal is harder than wood, and you can sometimes bite through the wood with your wire. It's just something to be mindful of. And to try to achieve symmetry, I like to do the same step, especially if I don't have a plan. I like to do the same step on both sides. So I'm going to thread that bead through, and I'm going to set it in the center of our thing. And on this one, I'm actually going to start by bending the wire down. That might help get consistent results. And then I'm going to feed through on this side and tighten, and then I'm going to feed through on this side and oops, tighten. Okay, so now from here, and we do have a nice delicate little loop here that I actually think I'm going to bypass. Altogether and just have it attached with rings directly to the chain or whatever I decide to use, but I'm still going to leave it as that as the top, so it gives me an easily recognizable point of reference. And so now I'm going to push this wire through like that, and I'm going to wrap a little bit of a figure 8. like that. Ooh, this is where I think we'll thread on the opalite. Yeah. So I'm just going to use the opalite to fill in that gap between, which is actually going to help hopefully maintain the spacing between the moon and the rest of the mandala. And then I'm going to come through right there. I am so moking this up as we go along, you guys. And then doesn't gotta be pretty, it's just gotta work. And usually with wire, it still ends up being pretty, even if it's just chaos. Okay, so there's that. And then on this side, what did we do? A little figure 8. I guess I'm gonna have to dig out too. I don't even know where I put that bead tray back. So I was like, I'll put it back where it goes so I won't lose it. I don't know where it goes. But I will rummage out 2 more opalite beads, I think. And just wiggling that down. And bringing this around the top and feeding through right there. And then how did I do that? Oh, I'm just going to feed through. Boop. And boop. Whenever the wire gets short like that, it's okay to use pliers. Like, you don't have to be like, I will only use my bare hands. So there's that side. It's looking a little chaotic, but I can dig it. And I'm not going to snip yet. Okay. Grabbing out 2 more opalites. And so we had started, what's that? 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3. So on the 3rd and 4th lobes from the top center point, I'm inserting our wire, bending this around. Gosh, that lab though, y'all. Cannot get over it. Also, if all y'all are watching this during the premiere, hey guys, this is a little bit of a longer video, but I'm really glad to be hanging out with y'all. Well, past Vaughn is anticipating how much future Vaughn is going to be enjoying hanging out with y'all. And if y'all are watching this even beyond the premiere and you wanted to have been in the premiere but you missed it, be sure to sign up for our newsletter, because I actually email out the streaming links whenever we do live streams or new tutorials or just anything like that. That way you don't miss a thing. And you also get a super sweet exclusive coupon. So, you know. But you can sign up at our website at backtoearthcreations.com. Okay, so I've gone through, we did that attachment point, we have looped around, did that little kind of figure 8, and now I'm going to thread on our opalite beads. Also, this step that I'm doing here, you guys, purely decorative. Just kind of get everything all, you could just continue wrapping like whip stitch style, almost like sewing on a button. Whoops. And just coming around. And then through that hole once, twice, and then we're just going to lay it across before we decide what to do next. So now we're going to do that same thing for the 4th and final time. So hooking through there, coming around the top of the bead, and just kind of hooking, boop, right through there. I will hopefully have pictures of this up on like our Instagram and stuff if seeing still frames of the piece might be more helpful to you. Okay, there we go. Oof, I love that. I think this would have looked really cool with like a dragon eye too, but that's just me. Alrighty. So now I'm going to snip the wires to similar length on both sides. So snipping that one to match that length, and I'm going to be snipping this one to match the length of the other one. And I just eyeballed it. You could measure yours if you're into that. And then I'm just going to come in and make some spirals. You could have them be nice and tight, little coils. You could have them be big, airy, fabulous spirals. You can have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You can make them all squiggly and weird. Around. There we go. And again, it's so easy with this softer wire to just, well, smush through it, but to just make a nice little, like, it does not rebel at all. Like, it has zero spring back to being manipulated into a shape with your tools or with your hands. And I feel like while Dead Soft Wire offers its own unique set of challenges, sometimes it can be exactly what you need when you're trying to learn. Okay, now I want to smush these wires, but cannot get my pliers in there. So what we're going to do is you can actually take literally anything to use as a mandrel, or as like an anvil base, and then I'm going to use the rounded side of my bent nose pliers and just smush them that way, because all it takes is a bit of a smush. Oops. And it removes some of that wiggle in the piece. I really love that. I don't know about y'all, but I've been really digging the moon lately. Like, as an earlier birthday present, Randy had actually gotten me a pretty nice pair of binoculars that we're going to be doing some moon watching with. And I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping to be able to catch, if we have any lunar eclipses this year, it would just make my day to be able to see the lunar eclipse through like 20 times magnification. That'd be pretty sweet. Okay, so I'm going to, through the magic of editing, find some jump rings. So if y'all are new to chainmail, I highly recommend getting this sampler. American Chainmail and Chainmail Joe both have fantastic samplers. This isn't a sampler, it's just has Chainmail Joe's logo on it. And this isn't sponsored, I just really like these products. And I want the easiest part about crafting to be the tool and material to use, which for me, for the longest time and even now, can be really daunting. It's like, you know, I want to just focus on crafting, not, you know, oh no, my wire's crappy, or oh no, my pliers broke, or oh no, my jump rings are crap. So that being said, that is why I recommend the products to you guys, is they're the ones that I would have recommended to me when I was first starting out. So I'm going to be using, I think, some 16 gauge 9/32. And that's less important. That's the wire gauge and then the internal diameter, but it's less important specifically what ring size I'm using. What's most important is that you find a ring size that suits what you're doing, because I'm looking for something that will be able to comfortably hold all the mass that I'm joining together into it. So if I was using, say, well, this is a size I like to use a lot. It's an 18 gauge 3/16. This is hands down probably one of my favorite sizes if I'm like buying in bulk or coiling and cutting my own. But it's not quite big enough to comfortably accommodate, well, I say that, and then, but it's a little snugger than I'd like it to be. Let's go with that. So to be able to fit everything, especially since these woodcut pieces have a bit of substance to them, so I would go the next size up, which in this tray is the 18 gauge 7/32. And by just having that extra little bit of room, especially if you're making something dangly like this, I really want my dangles to be able to dangle. So, and I do like to double up, sometimes even triple up on my jump rings. I feel like it makes it look a lot more substantial, and it certainly, two rings can carry the load better than one. And I just like the way that looks. So there's that side. And so to open a jump ring, I'm just gonna go like that. I like to open the rings at that angle as opposed to opening like this if my hand is a jump ring, because if you open at an angle like how we've done here, it's a lot easier to maintain a nice round shape with your ring, as well as it doesn't put as much stress and tension on the ring in a way that compromises its structural integrity. Like, it's going to keep your ring from breaking. And it's also, I think, a little bit easier to weave with, but I think that's just because it's what I'm used to. And I'm just going to hook both of those rings onto there. I've actually seen some really cool projects done by folks using our craft-along kits, using these woodcut circles in with their chainmail patterns, like just making a whole bracelet just out of woodcut circles, which I think is a lot of fun. So there we have that. I'm going to take another pinch and then close the bin because I don't want to make it an assortment mix instead of just a sampler. Anybody who's ever spilled a bead tray, I think, knows my pain on that one. And I'm just kind of assembling all of our pieces together. So there's one ring, attaching those. There's one ring, attaching those. And I'm not gonna lie, this is a bit large. I may not put this in the windshield mirror because it might be too big, but I might just hang it in my window. Okay, so here you can see, again, this is going to be a little too snug, joining those two wood pieces together. We do have some options here. We could join with an additional jump ring in between the two, which might look pretty neat, but I'm going to try just with a different ring size. But since I have this ring in hand, I'm going to go ahead and attach. Yeah. So there's one. Then hooking through the little loop that we had made in the wire and around the wood. So there's one side. And now I'm going to do that same thing to the other side. Oops. So there we go, getting that on there. Hooking through there, and then under there. This is, for me, this is the very rewarding part where things actually start to come together. I think that's so cute. I love how it's hanging just in the middle. And quite frankly, y'all, you could take this and just attach a bail, and that is a cool pendant. Like, oops, slapping the tripod. I'm so excited. So yeah, let's try, I'm gonna use, I'm gonna go with a little bit thicker of a gauge. I'm gonna use the 16 gauge, 3/8. I want a lot of space. I'm going to try that one and then decide from there if that's what I want to keep using. You can see this is going to give us a lot of space, which I don't mind a bit whenever it's, you know, a piece of art like this, like a wall hanging. But if this were a piece of jewelry, I'd want to go with something a little bit sleeker because this is going to have the tendency to want to lay one side over the other. But I like all the movement that that allows. Actually, I've had an idea. I'm going to teach you guys a very, very, very beginner. Some people might even argue that it's not even chainmail, but there's always somebody who's like super duper nitpicky. And it always drives me a little bananas, but we'll figure it out. Oh, I kind of like that too, just hanging down like that. Well, maybe on the next one. I'm going to grab a third ring of this 18 gauge or 16 gauge 3/8, and I'm going to close one, kind of wiggling it to get them nice and lined up, and I'm going to set it onto one of the open, and then I'm going to close that one. And then if you bring those two rings together to where you're then going to put the third ring through both of them. And we could do 4 rings, but I really like a 3-ring Mobius flower or Mobius knot, or one of the, you know, million names that people have for these different things that we do in crafting. And so now I'm going to use, this is 18 gauge 9/32, and I will hopefully, future Ron, please, have all the ring sizes that I've used listed down in the video description, because I've already lost me on what I'm using for what. So I'm gonna hook this ring through right there, all 3 that we had just woven, and then I'm going to open up another one, hook through, and then close, and then I'm going to open this one and hook through all 3, and then hook to that, and then I'm going to open that and close it. And so now from here, we are going to I'm going to use 2 more of that same ring size. That's 18 gauge, and this is standard wire gauge. So the wire I was wrapping with is 20 gauge American wire gauge. This stuff is standard wire gauge. So this is the equivalent of, sorry, this can be confusing. Or rather, it can just sound like a jumble when it's coming out verbally. 20 gauge American wire gauge, 18 gauge standard wire gauge, which is the same, roughly, as 16 gauge American wire gauge. So just something to be aware of. Not super important right off the bat. Like, again, the focus could be more on crafting than specifically remembering a bunch of statistics of ring sizes. And wire conversions and stuff. That will come with time. Don't let, if that's overwhelming to you or confusing or just gibberish at this point, please don't let that turn you off to chainmail or crafting and things like that. It'll get itself sorted. So we're gonna hook through there and there, again doubling up on the rings. Almost looks like a little dragonfly, you guys, I'm just gonna say. Now this has a tendency to want to shift that way. I'm not entirely certain right off the top of my head how we would work our way around that, but we could just wire wrap it to the frame, but I'm just going to let it shift around and do its thing, because especially if this is just hanging on a wall, I don't think we're going to have to worry very much about that moving around all over the place. But we could use a larger ring size and attach it there up at the top. We could just wire wrap or stabilize. We could sand a little bit, like make a little notch for these to rest in. We could glue it. So there's all sorts of different things that we could do, none of which I feel super urgent to do at this point. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to open up all 4 of these actually, and these are the 18 gauge 9/32. So like 9/32. Fractions. So I'm going to hook through the wooden, and we could do here on the point, but I don't think I could fit 2 wires or 2 rings comfortably through that, so I'm going to go up 1 and see how that dangles. Oh yeah, I love that. Okay. And now we're going to do the other side through the same little hole. There's that. And there's that. Now also, if the bare wood color doesn't get you where you're going, you can use different wood stains. You can actually get a really nice greenish tinge by rubbing, it's the wrong time of year for it, but the hulls of black walnut shells, like the pithy soft part, softish part on the outside of the, it would be surrounding this part. You can take that and smash it up and rub it into the wood, and it'll turn it like a really nice, like brownish green color. That's really pretty. You could soak it like coffee and stuff. You can stain it with that. I do prefer to use alcohol-based things, like the pigments, because it dries faster, and if you soak these in water, they can start to curl and come apart. Oh wow, you guys, I really like that actually. Like a lot. And that is how that has come out. Now also we could join from here to here on the tips with some chain and have it hang like that, but I'd like to hang it from this top part, I do believe. And I'm gonna incorporate a little thing like that. So I'm going to use, again, the same 18 gauge 9/32 to attach these 2 together. And just that by itself, I think would make some super cute earrings. So that's just me though. Okay. I am going to bypass this loop because I don't want to be putting stress on it unnecessarily, and I'm going to use 16 gauge 1/4 inch. It's a pretty sturdy ring. Again, doubled up just because I like the look of it. So there's that. And I think we can get away with just using that ring size the rest of the way up, since this is where the stress of bearing the weight of all of the other, like all of the rest of the piece. Derp. I don't even, like, I just lost my train of thought. Harumph. That's okay. Okay, so to maintain it all laying in the same like plane, I've attached the rings and now I'm going to join them. We could do another Mobius flower, but I'm just going to have it be simple. Not that Mobius flowers are super complex. You could do another like wrapped bead link here, or like really just whatever calls to you. Okay, so I've joined those two segments together. And now I usually make just like a big hook that I then hook around the rear view mirror, or even attaching, this is gonna sound jank, a hair tie, like an elastic, one of those elastic hair ties that like doesn't have a metal bit on it, and I just will attach the jump rings to that and then put the hair tie around the rear view mirror. That way it'll hang nice and free. And I am going to use for this final bit, yeah, let's do 2 more of these guys. Though you could just add like a little clip or a clasp, or it depends entirely on how you'd like to use this. You could attach it to a key ring and have that be a super stable loop that you could then hang it from. Do I want another? No, I think this is plenty big. Like, I think this will actually almost drag on the dashboard of our car. So, or maybe hit the windshield or something. So to make it easy to loop through, I'm going to use one of these 16 gauge 3/8 of an inch rings. And I'm just gonna kind of figure out that attachment point from there. And then I'm gonna take y'all to let's look at this from a different angle. Okie dokie. So this is how it came out, and again you can kind of see. So it needs a little bit of straightening sometimes, but that's okay. I absolutely love it, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while I made this. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, I would love to hear from y'all down in the comments. If you enjoy our channel and would like to support the creation of more of them, as well as get content, like exclusive content behind the scenes and emails and coupons and all sorts of stuff. Sorry, I'm looking at this and like brain farting entirely. Like, wow, I love it. Oh, I want to show y'all how I put the oil on it. I like to put the oil on from the backside, just in case, like if I had like a soda light or something on the front, I wouldn't want to be upsetting the stone with different oils or like bases or different things like that. And I just kind of take it and I dab it. A little goes a long way. Like, it looked like I was dabbing a lot, but this is a full bottle, so it's not like flowing. But I'm just kind of touching it around. This is also a great way, I may actually take this camping with us and put citronella oil and different stuff on it. as kind of a little bit of a bug repellent. What a pretty bug repellent that would be. But yeah, and then as it heats and diffuses there in the car, it'll make the whole cart stink nice. So, but yeah, thank you guys again so much for hanging out with us. And all the links for everything are down in the video description. This one keeps shifting around on me. There we go. Yeah, so until next time, you guys, happy crafting. Bye.